What's up guys, hope everyone is doing well. In this video I'm going to be going over some updates for Bitcoin, but nonetheless to go ahead and get it started here. First off on the 4-hour chart, still finding support along the 800 EMA here, along the uptrend since late April that has been intact. As we saw Bitcoin here trading along with really just intertwining around the 50 EMA. So far it's been cemented as support recently with the last 4-hour candle here. There was a close above the 200 EMA. This failed to happen back here during the local peak around September 5th. There was this brief false positive close above the 200 EMA here that did not end up in further upside price action, but led down to the 800 EMA, the uptrend that's been intact since late April, as I said. So this is quite crucial. Now this could again end up with something along these lines, in the sense that we'll just continue to go lower here, maybe come back down horizontally, test these lows, then find an actual bounce here. Maybe we'll lose that. I mean, right now it's just important to hold around 107, 108, 106, $108,000 approximately. 800 EMA as well, which is currently sitting at around 108.7 thousand. The 618 here is going to be very important. You can see here that going back to the around September 3rd, 618 has acted as resistance about 4 times. Currently now is the 4th attempt, although like I said, this one is a bit notable because it's closed above, at least one 4-hour candle so far has closed above the 200 EMA, which could eventually lead to a further movement up to around 114, 16, 17,000, generally because kind of testing up here, where you can see this is going to be a very crucial zone here. Major support here for a while. Obviously we had this deviation below, and then we had right here with this deviation above, but continuing on, you can see this is where this rejection happened here during this false positive above the 200 EMA. So that's going to be very important to get back above. We'll look back at this local peak, so around $117,000 as I've been saying. Now if we look here on the 12-hour, you'll more clearly see this horizontal zone that's been very important. You can see here local peak with some consolidation. We saw the price come back up to this zone, the lower bound, sat here in resistance for around 12 hours, just one single 12-hour candle, then shot above it. Rather volatile up to around 124.2 thousand. So it was support here, back up to around 124,000. It was support here. Got rejected at the 50 EMA. We've seen Bitcoin trading below here so far. Now also if I zoom in, you can see here that potentially this right here could be considered as an inverse head and shoulders. So as soon as we break just kind of generally this horizontal zone, which is where the current 12-hour candle is sitting, so just $113,000, $114,000. It's also exactly in line here with the 50 EMA band, specifically that upper bound being at around $113.3, $113.4 thousand. And here the price target for this conservatively is going to be about a move, depending upon how you take it. This one just with the candle closes and opens, somewhere upward towards 118,000. If I incorporate the wicks into it, somewhere around 119.5, so around 118, let's round that up to 120,000. Could see a move if this plays out upwards towards somewhere right along here in this rough zone, which would put the price moving back up to here. Kind of a general, again, with these two, if we look at these two deviations for peaks here, this is, you can see it was major resistance right in here leading to this move. And you can see right here, it was resistance with this deviation above. And then obviously you've seen the price come back down to this uptrend that I've been pointing out recently. As I was saying earlier, going back to here around the last week of April, so far it's been intact as support since then. If we take a look down here at the RSI, all these indicators, the RSI here, stock RSI, the MACD, the histogram here, the ASO, they're all poised upwards. So really it is coming down to whether or not we're going to see a confirmation of price action breaking out above this zone here, where they see the just kind of the price resistance to support horizontal zone, the 50 EMA. There's, like I pointed out, this potential inverse head and shoulders reversal pattern bouncing along this ascending zone of support, where we could potentially see here the RSI, if price continues to move higher, break above the Bollinger Bands and initiate a move further and further upwards here for the price. Best case scenario, obviously continuing here to move back into further price discovery to continue the bull market rather than topping out, ending the bull market and beginning the next bear market. Here on the daily, as I pointed this chart out for the first time in the last video, I'm not going to go back over it, but we can see here that these horizontal zones, if we do indeed see the similarities here in these two comparable scenarios where we're leading into, such as happened here, a volatile run, we're leading into another volatile run. We've seen back here the 382, the 4, 5, I think that's the 4, 5, 7 here, those Fibonacci zones. As soon as we saw this broken here on the RSI, it was simultaneous with the reclaiming of the 50 EMA, which is exactly what's happening right now currently on the daily. You can see here that the stock RSIs were also similar as well, leading back up to the median, breaking the median, continuing higher towards the upside. Same thing for the MACD here, crossing above the 0 point, and the MACD is heading right up to that 0 point for those two instances. So again, if we see this follow through once more with a similar percent move over a roughly similar period of time, then we would see somewhere upwards towards late October, early November, upwards towards approximately $200,000 if a similar time frame elapses, because as I pointed out last time, from here bottom to the end of this was around 140 bars. This one here is around roughly 150, so there is a bit of a difference in length here. If we do it to the highs, full high is 124, so here is 127, so it's closer that way. So roughly the same time periods, so you see roughly the same time period elapse and a similar percentage gain in price, and it would take it up to around approximately $200,000 by late October, but really just more, it was really late October. So I mean, it's basically just pointing to November if we do see this play out similar, and we do indeed see that this next move towards the upside is indeed the end of the bull run, the final, the all-time high, leading into the next bear run. Here on the 2-day, seeing nice data here as well. The support in the 50 EMA looking similar to here. We're also seeing again similar drawdowns. I pointed out this one here was 12.18%. This one here so far is 13.67%, and the same, very close ballpark there for these corrections here. And I pointed out many videos ago that we might see something similar here, like it's kind of this corrective ABC pattern here, where we see these two peaks leading into this final endpoint here of the move along the 50 EMA. We're still seeing, again, very notable hidden bullish divergence. We're seeing the RSI move back into the Bollinger Bands, encroaching upon the median here of the Bollinger Bands, the moving average for the RSI itself. Last time we saw the cross above would have been here, before that here, and then even before that here. So you can see this was a false cross here, false positive, lining up with a peak for the downside. This one here was a bit different. Nice move upwards. This one here again also a nice move upwards. So just because we see, let's say over the next few days, going into the next week, going into later this month, so far September, I mean historically September has been generally a bearish month, but so far it's a bullish month. It's up about 6% since actually literally going right back to the beginning of September, literally right here with these lows. So far the entire month of September, we're what, about 9 days or so, 10 days or so in, depending upon when you're watching this video, and Bitcoin's up about 5 to 6%. So seeing across above this median is going to be important, but it's also going to be even more important to see that not quickly get rejected back below, and we'll see a strong move up here to the 618, up to the Bollinger Bands, the upper bound of so, and we'll see the RSI break the Bollinger Bands, similar to here, and any other past instances of this behavior from Bitcoin, where we see this coincide with a sizable move towards the upside. Although totally possible to see here with the price. It's been testing as it's been moving up for the last 9 days of September. It's testing here the 13 EMA. It needs to get above that. That's going to be important, which sits around $112.6 thousand. So seeing a bi-daily candle close above so is going to be important. Seeing the price move back above the upper band of the 50 EMA, which is sitting around $114,000. I've already mentioned that, and even just going down to the lower time frames, that's a very important. It's my first value to be looking out for. Personally, 114,000, then upwards towards 117, 118,000 or so. But as I was saying, there's totally possibility for further rejection here, especially down to this uptrend zone here, which has characterized the lowermost support of the entire bull run since the end of 2022. It's also would likely roughly line up here with the 200 EMA currently sitting around $93,000 on the dot. So that's definitely still in play there. Also, just look here at the MACD. Recently came down here, it's poised upwards, moving upwards, seeing this flip bullish, seeing it go back above the 0 point is going to be very crucial, especially coinciding with a strong move of the RSI here back upwards, as I said. If we look here at the RVI here, it recently got, you can see there's also a hidden bullish divergence here from this low all the way up to our most, it's a terrible line, from this low all the way up here to our most recent local low. We see the structure of price ascending, but the structure of the RVI here is descending. So we're seeing some hidden bullish divergence there, on top of the fact that we're in a great place to find support more in the shorter term, the micro term. What I'm pointing out here is, of course, the 50 EMA. So we're also seeing the RSI testing the top of the Bollinger Bands. Also, this important, the 50 value here, usually getting above that in correlated back here during this range as we saw the bottoming out, and then Bitcoin initiating move upwards to approximately 125,000. So that's going to be crucial, and then continuing to move higher to get back above finally around 81 or so. The last time that happened was back during this move here. So seeing that happen over the next few weeks, going into the end of this month, beginning of October. If we start to see that for Bitcoin, likely that by the time we do see this, we're probably going to see Bitcoin here actually already in further price discovery. Likely at least $130,000, $135,000, $140,000, if not higher by then. We look here at the weekly chart. What I've been emphasizing here on this base weekly chart in the last number of videos is the 13 EMA. As that is every single time we've seen Bitcoin, there's one exception. Every single time we've seen Bitcoin close above or below the 13 EMA, for example, here, and here, you can see that led to a relatively significant drawdowns, around 12 to 24%. The one exception here is back in early June of 2023, where there was a brief close. We saw the price then shoot back up to 30,000, but ultimately then again did go right back down into this more notable close below 13 EMA. But so generally the gist here is, historically, according to the current bull run, every time we've seen a weekly close below 13 EMA, 4 out of 5 times, or rather 3 out of 4 times, if you don't include the current one, as we're still waiting to find out what's exactly going to happen. But majority of the time here we've seen, like I said, a relatively sizable move, 12 to 24%, which at this point we're down 13% total, but we have to take is from the 13 EMA. So I mean 12% drawdown, 96.5, 24% would be around 84.5 thousand, and that's still not encroaching upon the worst case scenario, which again, really just to emphasize this, the bottom of the barrel for myself is going to be seeing a weekly going down around daily close below around $77,000. This generally just this horizontal support zone here. If that ends up happening over the rest of this month leading into October, then I will almost borderline 100% likelihood flip into a leaning bearish sentiment, such that the bull market's over and this here was an ascending double top. But as of right now, if I zoom in, you can see that we could potentially, as I pointed out here, going back to here early June of 2023, we might be seeing something similar. We might be seeing kind of a fake out here, some sort of a false positive where we saw this brief close. Now we can see the current weekly candle is right back above it with 5 days, 14 hours left. This next, for the rest of this week, I think is going to be quite crucial, because if we can maintain a close back above this 13 EMA, that to me is going to be at least within the short to medium term the rest of this month of September, alluding to the fact that this was more so of a fake out scenario. We're actually going to see further movement here towards the upside. It's also important to note that that hidden bullish divergence is not on just on the daily or the 2 daily, but you can see hidden bullish divergence here on the weekly as well. And as I've pointed out many times in past videos, as I've been bringing up recently, plenty of times in the current bull run for Bitcoin have I observed, whether it's on the daily, moving up to the weeklies, various instances of hidden bullish divergences paired with bearish divergences that have been a coupling of data there that has further propelled and sustained the bull market, because that is generally what happens a lot of the times. Not obviously, it's not always 100% guaranteed. Nothing in technical analysis is ever that way, but a lot of the times, at least within the context of Bitcoin and the current bull run, we've seen bearish divergences, then afterwards printing hidden bullish divergences that counteract, negate those bearish divergences, and we continue to see Bitcoin move higher. There's another example we can see here, a minor negative slope here, a descending support here on the RSI, whereas you can see the price here is moving up, despite the fact that we're seeing bearish divergences, yet Bitcoin went up to $124,000 approximately. If we look here at this weekly, we can still see the Bitcoin, again, there's plenty of bullish structures still intact. That was really the main emphasis that I was sticking to in the last update video, is the fact that there are a number of bullish structures intact, and the people that you may come across, whether you're on YouTube, X, wherever, Reddit, people that are already bearish doom posting, saying it's over, simply just saying, oh, look, here's an ascending double top right here, there's an ascending double top here, and on top of that, they both have bearish divergences. So, oh, the bull run's over. We've already seen 100K plus. That's what a lot of people wanted. It's just over, so on and so forth. Despite the fact that there's still a number, various bullish structures still intact. And not to even mention, I'll bring it up again here, the list of the 30 all-time high indicators that have been around for, vast majority decades, not decades, but a little over a decade of Bitcoin's price history. None of them have fired yet. I haven't looked at it since I went over this or brought it up in the last video, so maybe one of them has fired, but I highly doubt it. I'll bring up an update image now. But still, we've basically seen no all-time high indicators, whether on-chain or off-chain, such as derivative indicators, RSI, so on and so forth. Nothing's really screaming all-time highs. Also, if you think about sentiment as well, we have not seen that mind-numbing euphoria period. We haven't really seen a major flooding in of retail. For various instances, whether look at the fundamental landscape, the technical landscape, this is without a doubt, this current bull run for Bitcoin is different. This is definitely a point in time, a period of time in the history of Bitcoin's price action to be reasonably and validly saying that the current bull run is in fact different, and there's plenty of reasons for that. Fundamentally, we have institutional interest in adoption. The Bitcoin spot ETFs, we're seeing further adoption, not just within America with the current Trump administration, but even just obviously globally, intercontinentally. There's this ramping up of interest into blockchain solutions, not just Bitcoin, but abroad. We're seeing the overall adoption of this this technological paradigm. And that's obviously going to have a drastic impact on the structure of price, because this is an unprecedented, we're entering into new waters here. And I think with this is going to obviously come a more mature Bitcoin. We're going to see, as I've said recently, just more measured, more calculated, more strategic, more elegant, if you will, bull runs. And by that, I really just mean, like, we see just this nice stair-stepping here. It's very, like I said, calculated, structured, really elegant. A lot of people are, particularly aren't fond of it. There's even parts of my own self that feel that way, just because of how quote unquote lackluster this bull run's been, going back and looking, look at this bull run here. It was just straight up almost the entire time. Go back even further, look here at 2015 to 17. You can see here, it's just basically straight up, no major corrections or consolidations. We had this here. But outside of that, I mean, even if I go back further, 2012, 2013, you can see here, there were these periods of sideways or corrections here. But outside of that, I mean, there was this major runs towards the upside of way higher percentage gains as well. Whereas, like I said, we're just seeing the structured, kind of lollygagging. We're spending more time going sideways and correcting in the current bull run than we are moving upwards and having these actual uptrends here, these impulses, these volatile moves towards the upside. And obviously this is something that's being that the change here, this time is different, like I've said, is definitely something that it's not just present in the data technically, but also the fundamental landscape, and it's clearly going to be bringing a lot of uncertainty to the table. I think really a big thing this time around is that institutional interests, thinking about BlackRock and all of the, them being the world's largest asset manager, over $10 trillion of assets under management. Obviously, there's a plethora of other institutions associated with the spot ETFs interested. I mean, think about, MicroStrategy, the whole business strategy of having a Bitcoin treasury. I mean, even obviously looking at nation state Bitcoin treasuries as well. I think this is obviously going to cultivate, as I already said, a more matured Bitcoin where we start to see these bull runs not completely just buck wild, one and done runs basically towards the upside. We'll see, as I've said, these more calculated, more measured runs where these big players, these people at the top of the pyramid of the hierarchy of the socio-political class or caste system, obviously moving from, you got your people that are impoverished, you got your middle class, and then you continue to just move on up, and these big players here are going to want to make the people that are below them just feel uncertain, not really know what's coming, make them second guess. And the structure here that we're seeing, the stair stepping, where it is quite uncertain, especially again comparing it to past bull runs. It's just not what, if you're looking at it from like think retail or dumb money, as opposed to institutional smart money. They're obviously trying to play around with and manipulate the people that are at the bottom of the pyramid or the hierarchy system. And all of that really is going to be something that I feel that, myself included and everybody else that wants to stay within the space is going to have to get used to, and realizing that this going forward is really kind of going to be the status quo. And I think it will only continue to become worse, such that the bull runs are going to continue to be longer. There will be more drawn out corrections and sideways periods that make the bull runs more boring and harder to get through, because it just goes up for a short period of time, corrects for a longer period of time, goes back up for a shorter period of time, corrects for an even longer period of time. And you just, especially after these, look at, for example, this move here, then it starts to correct here. Was it actually going to continue to go back up? Well, obviously, we see Bitcoin here did go back up to around $75,000 or so, making a new all-time high. Then it went sideways for another 6 months, 7 months or so. And obviously, this is a period of time where people are going to be questioning as well. Maybe we're just seeing another horizontal flat top at all-time highs, but that's not what happened. We've seen Bitcoin continue to grind its way, slowly so, unbearably slow to many people, further and further towards the upside. But the last thing I want to point out here is if we look here at the channel here that characterizes the current uptrend of the bull run, leading here from the accumulation zone as it descended here into the actual bull run, we've seen here that this 236 has been a crucial support, and that's right where Bitcoin is currently sitting. It's actually been the line of most support. If you look here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, counting the current one, 8. Out of those 8, 6 of those have found support along the 236. So this is a very crucial zone. Like I said, there's plenty of bullish structures intact. that have not yet been broken. Even if we see the price go back below here, there's still the bottom of this channel at around $95,500. So there's also still plenty of other things as well. Like I said, until Bitcoin goes below here, and I try to say this as objectively as I can, until we see Bitcoin go below this horizontal support here, I don't think there's any reason whatsoever to start to get towards a 90% or higher likelihood rate of the scenario that the bull market is over and the bear market has began. Also, this purple box here is here because I believe that whenever the bear market begins, I believe this is where quite a likely zone where we'll see Bitcoin bottom out at. And if this right here truly around $125,000 truly is all-time high for Bitcoin, obviously we've seen diminishing returns over time for Bitcoin. The bull runs, like I said, are extending in time. Same thing for the bear runs. The bear runs are becoming less bearish and the bull runs are becoming less bullish over time. This move back here, this bear run was around 87%. This one here, this one here was around 85%. This one here is around 78%. So the trend here is, again, that it's decreasing. So we should expect a bear run that's 77% or lower. So it's likely going to be at least like 75%. And that would take the price of Bitcoin down to around $30,000. Whereas if we do see Bitcoin continue higher here back towards the top of this trend, somewhere around at least 180K, upwards to 200, 230, 250K, I think it's a more reasonable range than higher, pushing up to around $300,000 or so. But if we see the move upwards towards around like 200,000 or so, then a retracement that would fulfill the diminishing returns, or also the diminishment of losses and bear runs, then this purple zone here is really around 67% towards around 73% or so. And moreover, if I skip ahead here to this chart, there's these hidden bullish divergences on the 2 weekly here that we're looking at that have always predicted the end of the bear runs, going all the way back here to the period of 2011. So March of 2011 to around November, December 2011. There's these arcs in price that have an ascending support structure here that end off with the pi cycle low. And again, we see here descending structures on the RVI. So this is, again, here macro long-term hidden bullish divergences that we're seeing. And this has been a structure that's been intact since, like I said, April. So I mean, we're over 14 years at this point. I think more likely than not, we'll see the structure remain intact, at least now, this time around. Again, like I said earlier, this time is definitely different for various logical, sound reasons. So, I mean, honestly, to play devil's advocate, now would be the best time in comparison to any time beforehand for this to finally break. Same thing goes for the 30 indicators of, on chain, and also here with this all-time high indicator and all-time low or bear market low indicator as well. I mean, again, this is the best time in history so far for all these metrics that have worked up until now, where we're entering these unprecedented waters, for all these historical data points and these data metrics to actually begin to break. Maybe not necessarily break, but just enter to a period of transition into the next era where they're going to start to show different behaviors going forward over the next 5 to 10 years, as we're entering into this institutional area for Bitcoin, as we're entering into not just retail adoption, we're entering into adoption proper, such as that institutional adoption, regulational clarity within America, regulational clarity and acceptance within other nation states as well. So I mean, we're clearly in different times. Things clearly are different this time. I really don't feel like that can be emphasized enough. And really the reason why I skipped ahead to that 2 weekly chart was to show that if this here was the top for Bitcoin, and we're going to see a move of around at least 70-75% that would take it down to around $30,000, and that would break this structure here. So I bring that up just to support the idea that this isn't the top, and that we'll continue to go higher upwards towards around $200,000 or so in order to see a bear market that would take it down in this purple zone, that would keep intact this 14-year plus long historical structure that I mean, obviously, not only does this pertain to the RVI down here, but it pertains to the pi cycle high, and it pertains to all those other indicators that I've been referring to as well. Now, the last thing I want to point out here is let's say we do see a further move down to the bottom of the channel around $95,000 or so, and we see the RSI come down to this horizontal going all the way back to Q1 of 2023. This is just going to be even more bullish than it is right now. Yeah, it won't be great to see the move down to around 95,000. It's just going to invoke further fear and panic and negative emotionality within people, especially the people that have not been in the markets for a full cycle or just at least like 4 to 5 years or so. But I mean, all in all, this would be a great sign because this is a horizontal zone. You can see here, it's been the major support here for every key zone in the bull run structure so far. So if we see the price sitting at 95,000 and RSI is in this same horizontal zone, I don't really know what else could look better than that, unless we obviously see this horizontal zone here in RSI break. We see the price move down here to this horizontal zone of support here and they continue lower. Like I said, that's really the big thing to be watching out for, is a close below here. Looking at the weekly around let's see, precisely is going to be around $80,651. Obviously stemming down to the daily, seeing closes below around that 70, within that $75,000 to $80,000 range and lower is going to be showing early indicators on the daily, and then that will eventually trickle into the weekly as well. But if we look here, on this weekly chart, we can see a trend-based Fibonacci extension from this low here, the bear market low of 2018, to the bull market peak of November 2021, down to the most recent bear market low of 2020, end of 2022. And we can see here that the structure of the bull run has very much so followed in suit with Fibonacci zones. Here we can see that this first move up to here, the 146 rejection down to the 0.09, then a move up to proximity to 236, horizontally retraced back to the 146 as it was here, resistance, flipped into support. We saw a move up here, proximity with some wicks up to the 382, retracement, no notable retracement anywhere, but then we saw the price shoot up to the 0.5 here, making a new all-time high before the halving, which is again another data point that further affirms the fact that this time is different, where the structure is different. But it's also interesting too as well, might I add, that we saw the price of Bitcoin set a new all-time high before the halving this time around, when we're seeing a more lackluster bull run. You would think that that would have been a status quo of past bull runs because they were more rapid. They had a higher degree of acceleration. They were just kind of one and done runs. Like, for example, this run in here from the March crash at 64,000. And also going back to 15, 16, and 2012 and 2013. But, so, I mean, that's really interesting. I mean, really, I don't feel like it could be said enough, and it's almost kind of hard to put into words just how odd and different this cycle, this bull run rather, has been in comparison to past bull runs. But after we saw Bitcoin set a new all-time here, hit the 0.5, came down, retraced to the 382, found support, moved right up to the 618. When we saw the price of Bitcoin retrace back down to around 75K, it was a proximal retest of the 0.5, where it was obviously resistance. Now we saw that flip into support, saw the price move back up to the 618, sit here, then shoot up to 122 to 124,000. Now we're coming back down. I have not quite yet retested the 618. It sits at around approximately 105,000. It does not obviously necessarily have to come back down to that. Obviously, this was a proximal retest of the 0.5 here. This is a proximal retest of the 382 here. Here was a proximal retest of the 146. So, I mean, we're seeing a proximal test or a retest here of the 618 that was quite a major support from December 2024 to June of 2025, and not support here. This is a major resistance from December 2024 to June of 2025, and now it's finally being broken. Looks like we're coming down to retest it with plenty of bullish structures intact, and the next notable Fibonacci level above here is the 786, which sits at around 176,000. Above that's the 854, which sits at 217,000. So I think at bare minimum, we'll see likely this zone met here. At lower than that, I think just at least approximately 150K. My personal lean here, my bias, to give some sort of subjective input, is that we'll see Bitcoin move up to around 150K or so, somewhere right here, have some sort of a local peak, maybe some sideways consolidation, maybe a quick wick correction, then move up to 786, and this generally kind of just make a stride up to around 854, upwards towards approximately $200,000 or so. Now also we can see here that the 0.5 here sits at 72.7 thousand, which is, like I said, kind of just generally in line with this horizontal support here. So if we see the weekly go below this 0.5, again, I think that's going to be that. Yeah, I'm very certain at this point that if that does happen over the next month or two, going into the end of this year, that I will begin to flip my subjective view on the market to bearishness, to the fact that the bull run is actually over. Now, if we look here again, so 2-weekly chart, this is just again, another one of these all-time high indicators. If we looking down here, the accumulation distribution open interest money flow index, pointed this out plenty of times. It's always predicted the all-time highs here within these periods of time here, that in this purple periwinkle. Again, we see the pi cycle highs, hasn't even topped out yet. We're still quite far away from it. I mean, like I believe in one of the last videos, if considering the slope here, if it continues to go up at the same rate, then we'd see Bitcoin top out no significantly lower than at least $200,000. So I mean, again, this is another thing here that's further affirming these lower time frame analyses that I'm going over. With plenty of bullish structures intact, higher time frame macro indicators, no bullish all-time high indicators have flashed yet, on-chain, off-chain. We're just, again, seeing plenty of things here. This is the RVI chart that I briefly went over earlier. Here we see with the monthly, again, this is going to be, we still see the RSI uptrend here still intact, still seeing the RSI trading right within the median, has yet to break above this median, as you can see here back in every single past bull run iteration. This is always signified the all-time highs, at least going above the 618 right here. Have yet to see that. So again, gives reason to believe that the bull run has not ended, that there still is one more move at the very least towards the upside. And if there is indeed one more move towards the upside, then according to this Fibonacci extension here, taking the bear market retracement here, gone over this plenty of times. 272 has always been the proximity zone here for these all-time highs. The 272 currently sits in projection into the future around $206,000, which again, one of the big reasons why I have leaned towards approximately $200,000, upwards towards $230,000, $250,000 at highest for the last over a year. I don't remember exactly when I first found this. I took these retracements here for the first time. It's definitely been over a year. And it's, again, like I said, one of the big reasons why I've, since the early stages here of the bull run, have been projecting towards at least approximately $200,000 with the lower bounds of, like I said, 170K, 180K, and a little bit, some upper bound deviations towards 230, 250,000, maybe $300,000 at highest, especially if there's an extended cycle like a lot of people have been speculating on, something I brought up, not something I lean to. But it's definitely possible. I mean, again, we've seen a lot of surprises here within the current bull run for various reasons I've already gone over. And then lastly here, again, we just see the 12-month chart. We're in the third bullish year. It's always been 3 years with the exception of this first move here for Bitcoin back in its very much so youthful days, back in its heyday. Its days of maximum volatility where it had full 4 bullish years upwards. Now, again, it really just kind of goes to show just how wacky and odd, just different this cycle is. Because I mean, there's even within my own view, and I'm sure a lot of people would agree with me on this. There's so much uncertainty and so much surprisal associated with the current bull run that if it tops out and confirms this 3-year bull run trend here and somewhere upwards towards like $250,000 or so, won't be surprised. But if we see an extension of the bull run into the 4th year, maybe even the 5th year, maybe even the 6th year, who knows what's going to happen? Nobody does. Then I also equally really won't be surprised just because of how really just to continue to reiterate here and beat a dead horse just how odd uncertain and surprising and different this run has been, this current bull run. But lastly, I really just want to, here's gold. I'm not going to really say anything about this. If you're interested, I made 2 posts about it in the post tab on my channel to explain everything there. I do want to go over here we see the Bitcoin dominance total 3 chart. So that's the market valuation of all cryptocurrencies excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. And then here on the bottom we see others, which is all cryptocurrencies outside of the top 10 against Bitcoin. So basically just priced with respect to Bitcoin. And Bitcoin dominance here obviously looks like it's entering into that final, it's going to jump off the edge of a cliff. We might see potentially another return or relief back up to the descending resistance here. There's no resistances here, maybe backwards or back up to around like 65, 66, 67% if it ends up going a tad bit higher than the most recent local peak. Total 3 chart again, still just sitting here right at the all-time highs, going all the way back to the prior bull run, late 2021. Really, my bias here is that we're just seeing the price here consolidate until it finally breaks about above. We see the Bitcoin dominance here continuing to go lower and lower, depending upon, I think at least around 50% is where we'll see the Bitcoin dominance go, but there's also a good likelihood that it will go lower than 50%, probably down maybe to around like 45% or so by the end of the bull run and after alt season. And then interesting here with the others Bitcoin, there's this macro ascending uptrend that goes all the way back to, it's part of the structure, it goes all the way back to March of 2017. So far we're seeing quite a nice bounce. One of the things I pointed out in this chart last time I went over it is there's this zone here. This zone going back to here, May of 2019, going forward, this zone has been correlated with purple vector candles, which in the context of how I'm going over it on this chart, these would line up with, in my view, candles that are signifying a decreasing bearish volume. And you can see here that there was, like right here, there was one final move and then an uptrend, then kind of retested this general zone, then the bull run here for others, Bitcoin. And we're seeing these 4 of these purple vectors printed right here within this same zone that goes all the way back to, like I said, May of 2019, and currently we're seeing a good bounce. It's also along the macro uptrend here. And then again, really pairing that with what the total 3 looks like, how Bitcoin dominance is looking. If Bitcoin continues to make one more final stride here, we could again be seeing these last moments in the overarching, the broad, crypto-wide bull run, where this is that point in time where we're going to start to see the altcoins, obviously even Ethereum, currently sitting in its all-time highs, briefly wick to new all-time highs. Ethereum would then, hypothetically here, projecting, front run all the altcoins as it actually really starts to enter over the next month to 2 or so, entering genuine price discovery, upwards towards $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, maybe higher. Who knows where it's going to go? I think maybe approximately 20,000 at highest is what's reasonable at this point. Then obviously, as Ethereum's kind of front running everything, we'll then begin to see a lot of these other altcoins pick up that have not been doing so thus far, because altcoins in general have been brutalized for various reasons, and a lot of that really just kind of boils down to what Bitcoin looks like here with this bull run. That's just like I've pointed out here, it's just very different from past bull runs for Bitcoin. But that was all that I wanted to go over in this video. So as always, none of this is meant to be financial advice, but all that being said and everything gone over, I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.